everybody. I am Lindsay. This is Maria, and we are Roomies reviewing the movies. We're all college roommates, and we do film a lot. I have a degree in film, and Maria
Mhm.
in a, a
A film
reviewer.
reviewer.
Yes.
It's
Lost my train of thought. Yeah,
all
a
right.
film reviewer for the past 20 something years. So we are here to review 1997's Gang Related, which is starring Tupac Shakur, and which was his last film role, unfortunately, and Jim Belushi. So also has other people in it, Layla Rashawn,
Legendary.
yeah, and James Earl Jones. Um,
Surprisingly.
surprisingly, yeah. so, yeah, um, this is filmed in Los Angeles. The film takes place in Los Angeles, and Jim and Tupac are detectives,
Yeah.
crooked detectives,
Partners. Crooked partners.
right? So basically, what their um thing is, because Tupac has a bad gambling problem, and then Tupac's character name is Rodriguez, and then
Yes.
Jim's character name is, I forgot his name. Oh shoot, hold on.
What was it? James? No.
No,
No, that was somebody else.
yeah, hold on. I'll pull it up. Da Vinci.
Oh,
It
sorry.
was something ridiculous. Yeah. Um. Yeah.
Rodriguez and Da Vinci. I'm like, okay.
Right. Two ridiculous names, but I digress. So Jim's character's name is Da Vinci. Tupac is Rodriguez, and Tupac has a bad gambling problem. Da Vinci is a person, excuse me, who's just greedy, and he has a wife and has a mistress. And
Greedy, conniving, lying, manipulative,
yeah,
selfish, narcissistic.
yeah, you name it, that's him.
Yeah.
So basically, what their scheme is, to get extra money and whatnot, is they take evidence, um, drug
Mhm.
evidence, and they sell it, and then they turn
Sell
around.
the drugs.
Yeah.
Just like
Then they turn around and kill the drug dealer and blame it on gangs.
it's gangs,
Yeah, unresolved gangs. And so with them doing that, they get the money back. And so, they get the money and then they get the drugs back. Then they put the
And then they
drugs
have
back in the
somebody to blame
evidence.
for the crime,
Right,
and nobody's looking at them.
right. So that's their whole MO. And this particular time, with them doing the whole scheme or whatnot, they actually killed a DEA officer. And so now they have the DEA on their ass to try to figure out who shot this officer, this undercover officer.
Because they didn't kill a cop.
Right. They
Mm,
have killed a cop.
wow.
Yeah. So not only are they doing that, they also have a case that they pinned on somebody else that is going through the trial process as well. So they have those two along with actual murder cases that are legit. So,
They have to investigate the old murder that they committed.
right, right. So now they are um they're on a time crunch to try to get somebody to pin this murder on that they actually did.
Mhm.
So they're picking up, usual suspects and whatnot. Literally every person they pick up has a ironclad alibi.
Ironclad.
Yeah. So with that, um,
Like they really can't even like one guy was like, I was in jail. What are you
Right,
talking about? I was in jail all night. Other dude was like, I was in the hospital.
right.
Like,
Like I literally just got out yesterday.
and the thing they do this thing where like when they're interviewing these folks, they have the gun, and they push the gun towards them. And so
Mm,
the person reaches out to like to stop or touch the gun or whatever. I'm like, stop touching the
yes,
gun.
yes, that was literally everybody that they had in the interrogation room that they did that
Because
to
as
get
soon
their
as they touch
fingerprint.
the gun, they're like, exactly. They're like, well, your fingerprints are on it. So
Right. And they keep touching the gun with the pencil, picking it up with the pencil and swinging it back and forth.
making sure they're not touching the gun.
Right. Crazy. And so like the third person that they did this to, that person was really hip on everything,
Mm-hmm.
everything that was going on. But he was just like, you said last Friday. Oh, I was robbing a bank last Friday. He was like, like I'd rather do 1 to 5 and 10 to life. Sorry.
Right. And see, the problem with career criminals is that, they're busy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So yeah. So like I said, everybody has an alibi that you just can't get around. So again, the DEA is on the precinct's ass to try to get somebody. So the chief is on their ass to get somebody. So one of Da Vinci's rendezvous with this mistress that he has, who also is a stripper. He ends up leaving her apartment.
played by Layla Rashawn.
Yes, and he ends up leaving her apartment and pulls a gun out on a homeless person that startled him. So he ends up getting a bright idea. Hey, I can pin this murder on him. Like nobody cares about him, right?
And
Ends
see,
up
the thing is, they have been using Layla as part of the drug deal somehow.
yes.
Like, I guess she was supposed to be the one to, like, kind of seduce the guy to get him to do the drug deal.
I'm assuming that
I'm not
these are
quite sure.
probably I'm assuming that these are probably somebody that
Or maybe
she
she met them
runs
in the club
into
or
at the
something. Or
club, right?
okay, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming is that's who that is. And he and she brings them to them, because strippers apparently are liaisons for
For
drugs.
police
Yeah.
and police, right?
In
Like,
place, right. So and of course she gets a cut of it as well. But um yeah, so they run into this guy and the guy is like a complete drunk. The
yeah.
homeless guy, and the homeless guy is played by Dennis Quaid.
Mm-hmm.
And
And then
so
they've got all this like hair and makeup on him and stuff, so you can't really see him that well.
he's
And
extremely dirty.
yeah, he's very dirty.
Yeah.
He's incoherent when he talks. He doesn't seem to know who he is. And
hmm
like, but apparently Layla Rashawn's character knows him just from seeing him around seeing around the way.
Right, right, because he lives in the alley next to her apartment building.
Right.
So she knows him by that. But of course, Da Vinci thought it was a bright idea to pin it on him. So he takes him, brings him to. I'm assuming that was Rodriguez's apartment that he brings him to.
Okay, I
And,
thought it was just some motel or something.
no, I think it was an apartment,
Okay.
and him and Rodriguez are, enticing him with alcohol
I mean,
to
straight up feeding him straight vodka.
cheap vodka at that.
Yeah, definitely plastic with the candle on it. Like,
hmm Yeah. And so, a drunk being a drunk, they're gonna do whatever they need to do to get that bottle. So that's basically what he did. He was just like, yeah, sure, I shot him, and took the bottle and took it straight to the face.
straight to the face.
Straight to the face.
Brr.
Yeah, it was like, whoa. Like he didn't flinch or nothing.
Because
So,
before they're giving him like this glass and like just pouring straight.
mhm.
I was like, y'all not gonna put any soda or juice in that or nothing? Like, nope. And because that was not a problem because he took that whole bottle.
Right, right. So yeah, and they were enticing him with that. And so when he did that, we was like, okay, know where this is going, we're gonna get him to do whatever, do whatever we want. And so they got him to sign his name to a confession. Again, he didn't sign his real name, he signed Joe Doe. So
Because he's like, I don't know my name.
right, right, because he's been incoherent from what they find out later on, 7 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, he they ended up arresting him, getting him booked and whatnot. And because this is a high profile case, it shows up in the paper and whatnot. And like I said before, they also got this other trial that's going on with this other case that they pinned on this person. And so that trial um has a murder weapon, and they keep taking the gun in and out of evidence. At first they was just like, oh, we don't have the gun no more. So the case was about to go to shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Because what they did was like that murder happened. That
Mm-hmm.
gun was put into evidence. They took the gun out of the evidence to murder the dude who ended up being the cop. And
Right,
now they're trying to use the same weapon for two different
right,
trials.
right. I mean, just very, very, very sloppy,
It's
sloppy.
so sloppy.
And so and so then they had an issue because the chief told the guy that's over evidence that you need paperwork to even go back there. So when they try to go back there and get the gun again, they couldn't. So they had to go on the street, buy a gun from a random gun dealer, and say, "Hey, DA, we got a gun now." So the DA puts the gun in the evidence for this trial, and the guy sees the gun, flips. That's not my gun. That's not my fucking gun. That's not my fucking gun. So
It's not the
he
gun I did the murder with. Like,
right, right. Like, no, that's not mine. Absolutely not. So he flips out. They try to the bailiffs try to restrain him. He like steals on one of the bailiffs. So then they subdue him in the middle of the floor in the court. And so yeah, so this complete outburst happens. Come to find out, they ended up acquitting that person. So that person walks. So
probably
now
due to
they
lack
got
of evidence.
right. Right. Miraculously, because like he got to be believed if y'all don't even have the gun, and he's telling y'all, and he went to this extreme saying that that wasn't his gun. I mean, that's definitely believable. So, so yeah, so he walks. So now they're flipping out because that case didn't work out. So now they gotta go back to this other case. Well, because the man is in jail, Dennis Quaid's character, Joe Doe. So now he's in jail, so he's sobering up. He's going through detox. He has a public defender, and so the public defender is like, "Yeah, there's something's fishy about this," So they put him in
Public defender is actually doing his job,
actually doing
like
his job, right?
leaking into the leads and stuff, doing the stuff that the cops aren't doing.
Right, right. Because normally when you get a public defender, they're like, "Oh, we want you to plead,"
They're
So
not doing detective work. Like,
at all, at all. But he's looking at this and he's just like, 1 and 1 is not equaling 2.
this
So
white man is innocent.
right. So he cleans them up. As far as the drugs are concerned, he cleans them up, and then he tries to talk to him, and the guy, now that he's clean, he's like, well, I signed a confession, I did it, so I just want to plead guilty and take my punishment. And the defender is like, yeah, I don't think that's a wise idea. And so, again, with this being a high
Right.
powered case, it hits the newspaper. And with it hitting the newspaper, it catches the eye of this very famous attorney who
Hot,
represents,
legendary.
yes, legendary attorney who represents this family. The family, he takes the newspaper to the family because Dennis Quaid's character was presumably by his family dead because they haven't talked to him in 7 years. Um, Come to find out, his name is William McCabe. I think it's William McCabe. So,
And this guy is like a saint.
yes, yes. So, James Earl Jones's character ends up representing him along with the public defender. And James Earl Jones' character name is Arthur Baylor. So, he ends up defending him, and they end up putting in the newspaper who this person actually is. The person is a surgeon who comes from this wealthy family.
He's a millionaire, playboy, philanthropist, surgeon.
No, no, not millionaire, not
Oh,
millionaire,
I'm sorry, that's little.
billionaire.
My bad.
You're right, billionaire. And so he comes from this family who owns this, I think, tech company, but he didn't go into that field. He went into medicine. So he is a surgeon, and he is not only a surgeon, but he gives back. He was doing surgeries in Africa.
For organ transplants on like kids or whatever. Like,
Yes, like he is like it's the best that they come,
yeah.
and
Especially when it comes to billionaires.
right. And so now Rodriguez and Da Vinci are like, WTF,
Mm-hmm.
especially Rodriguez. He was just like, this is who you pin this murder on, this person. And Da Vinci was like, well, how was I supposed to know? Like, he was
Really.
a bum in the street. So, yeah.
And like they're trying to get, Layla Rashawn to be a witness against him
Hmm.
for this trial, and she doesn't want to go through with it because
He
she knows
knows.
this guy is Joe, and she knows he didn't do it.
Right, right.
And there was this scene where they're trying to convince her to do it, basically trying to bully her into it. And Da Vinci's asking her like, "How do you know it wasn't him?" And Rodriguez, he really hates her for some reason. But he's like, "Well, I bet she was blowing him," and she's like, "Better him than you."
Right.
And he goes, "I can't afford it." And she said, "I know you can't."
Yeah, yeah. They don't have the best of relationship between them two. He probably just like, he brought, well, I'm sure he knows everything between her and Da Vinci.
Right, but see,
Uh,
the thing is, we don't even find out Da Vinci is married
right, until
until
like halfway through.
yes.
Yeah. Right. So,
And he's telling Layla, "Oh, I'm gonna make plans for our future." Da, 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 da,
yeah, and she's just like, yeah, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they have this they well, the whole thing with Layla Rashawn's character was that she was supposed to just pick him out of a lineup, which she did. She didn't want to do that, but she did it anyway. And so now with this case going to trial, now she's like, they're asking me to, or no, not asking, they're subpoenaing me to be a witness. I don't want to be a witness. You said that I didn't have to do all of this. You said it was supposed to be an open and shut case, blah, blah, blah. So Da Vinci is trying to think, and he's just like, well, I'll tell you everything that you need to say. It'll be fine. And so with so she kind of calms down or whatever, but she's still pissed. So the DA contacts Layla Rashawn's character. What is her name?
What is her name?
Cynthia Webb. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the DA's office contacts her and was like, "We need to talk to you. Can I come to your house at 2?" She's like, "Yeah." So after she gets off the phone with the DA, she bails, burns out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Got her suitcase, getting on the bus.
yes, she's on the bus. She's out of here. So when that happened or whatever, Da Vinci goes to her apartment now because that
And
is his
he has the key
mistress. He
to
has
her
a key.
place.
Yes, he has a key. And so he's just walking in like Scooty Doo. She's not there. So he
Because before he gets there, he's talking to Rodriguez about killing her.
right, right. And so he has a whole argument with Rodriguez about killing her, and because Rodriguez is like, that's another body. Like, I'm not here for it.
He said 11 is enough. I said 11.
Right, right. Because they've been running this scheme, So
10
yeah,
was fine, but 11 is just too far.
right. It's just one too many.
All
We were
right.
supposed to stop at 10, and it was just supposed to be that. But that's the crazy part because that's Da Vinci's mistress, and he's the one that came up with the idea to kill her.
Right.
So yeah, that's how men ain't shit. But anyway, uh
Because Rodriguez is like, well, I don't like her, but I don't want to kill her.
right. Um so yeah, so he goes to her apartment. She's not there. While he's leaving, the DA is about to knock on her door. So they end up having dialogue. And
Dude,
because
like,
the
why are you
DA is
here?
like, "Why are you here?" Right? So he's like, "Oh, well, I'm just trying to follow up with her and blah blah blah. Well, let me know if you find her because she's not here." And the door was unlocked, and
Yeah,
uh,
I found it like this.
I found it like this. So I just wanted to make sure because you just never know with situations like this. And so the DA is side eyeing him, but he's just like, "Okay." So he ends up Da Vinci ends up going to a
Going to
bounty.
see Kyle Barker.
Yes, Kyle Barkin, TC Carson, and his name is Manny, and so he ends up going to Manny to which is a bail bondsman slash bounty hunter, and so he told him that he needs to find her, so he ends up finding her, brings her back. Ooh, excuse me, and so she ends up um she ends up testifying in the trial. And so at first she was okay, but you know,
Arthur is the lawyer. He's cross examining her.
yes, he's cross-examining her and he knows from the jump that she's lying because Dennis Quaid's character tells him, I know her. I know her. Like I don't remember where I know her, but I know her. And so he's asking her, and she's like, "No, I don't know him." And so he's like, "Okay, well, that if you perjure yourself, that's against the law, and you can go to jail." And so they ended up catching her up, and
Yeah, because he starts calling the defendant Joe
excuse me, yes,
instead of his real name, and she still knows who he's talking about. So
right,
that's how he caught her. Like, no, you actually know him as Joe. And why do you know him as Joe? Because he slept in the alley by your apartment.
right, right. And so she ends up admitting that she does know him, and so they're like, "This is deeper than what the surface is telling us. Like, are you covering up for somebody?" So now all of a sudden she don't know anything. But she's
Hmm.
just like, I don't know.
She's
While
just
she's
trying to stay
saying
alive.
right,
Because
while she's
at this
saying
point, both Rodriguez and Da Vinci are like, let's kill her.
right. And she knows that. But
Yeah.
while she's saying that, she's crying, like tears are dropping down. So they know it's deeper. Because why are you crying if you don't know anything?
Right.
So oh, excuse me. So it is
Hey, what you
I
mean?
know it's contagious, I know. So yeah, so that didn't work out well. So now she she ends up getting arrested, and so Da Vinci goes back to Manny to have her bailed out.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes and bails her out. So when she gets bailed out, she's suspicious. She's like, "Who the hell then bailed me out?"
Right. She doesn't want to go because she knows they still out there.
Exactly. And so Manny is just like, "You're a stripper, right?" And so then she's like, "Yeah." So she was like, um, "Men are sweet on you." So maybe it was just somebody that is just trying to help you out, because he had instructions not to tell her who bailed her out. So she's just
He's
like,
trying to low key tell her
right,
who
right.
it
He wants
is.
to tell her, but yeah. So he ends up taking her with him back to his office. So a couple people come and get her from the office, and she just goes. She don't ask no questions or anything. I was just like, I mean, you ain't even gonna ask their name or
You're
nothing. You
gonna have
just
to
gonna
fight
go,
me. We're gonna
right,
like, come on.
right. Like didn't that didn't make sense to me. But now the precinct is kind of leery about how this whole trial is going, and meanwhile Rodriguez is low key flipping out because of how the trial is going. So yeah. So they end up getting Cynthia, and they bring her in, and um James L. Jones's character, he talks to her, and he's just like, um, you need to tell us everything. And she's reluctant at first, but then she's just like, um, I'll do it, if I get full immunity. So James L. Jones's character goes back to the police chief and tells him, you know, you we have the witness. She's willing to talk, but she needs full immunity.
Yes.
He's reluctant to give that, but James L. Jones's character is like, you don't have a case. Let's just be real about this. You don't have a case. And she's the only person that can probably connect you to who actually did it. Therefore, you really want to hear what she says. And, you
This
know,
case is bigger than just this
it,
trial.
exactly. So he's like, all right, well, if she got something that's willing to be heard, then she got the immunity. If not, nobody goes anywhere. So he's like, all right. So he brings her in, and they get a recorded statement from her. Apparently, it's everything that they needed to hear, because they end up getting William off. So he gets off, and now they know that this whole thing is a scam. So they
Hmm.
really need to know exactly what happened. So um, Rodriguez and Da Vinci are flipping out, more Rodriguez than anything. And
It's finally the part where they give Tupac something to do because so much of this movie is just Belushi,
hmm
and it's
yeah,
like, okay, that's fine, but like, you put Tupac in here for a reason. Let him do something.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So um, yeah, so they end up having this big argument, and Da Vinci is just like, take your shirt off. And so he was like, you don't trust me now? And he was like, no, take your shirt off. So he ended up finding out that Rodriguez got on a wire.
no, no. Even before that, though, he's like, he wants him to take his shirt off, whatever. He wants to prove he's not wearing a wire. He pulls out a gun and holds the gun to his partner's head, like,
Yeah,
prove
yeah,
to
yeah,
me, blah, blah, blah.
right.
And Rodriguez is like really shaken up. Tupac is doing some really good acting in this scene.
hmm
Yeah. He's like,
Yeah,
"You would do that to me? You would pull the gun out on me?"
right.
To the point where even though I don't like Rodriguez in this movie because you're not really supposed to like the cops anyway, um,
hmm
he's like actually making you feel sorry for him.
Yeah, yeah. It was like, it kind of felt like he was like along for the ride unwillingly, but
Mm,
he very much was down for the whole scheme because he had that gambling
right,
debt,
right.
you know. So, but
But
I
he
guess
had he'd had enough.
right.
Yeah.
Right. It was too far for him. So they Da Vinci finds out that Rodriguez has a wire on, and then he tells him like, yeah, I'm wearing a wire and I told them everything. So yeah. So he told him to get out the car. So he ends up getting out the car, and Da Vinci leaves him there. And so he ends up back at his apartment, Rodriguez does, and he flips out, starts like trashing his own apartment. And the people that he has the gambling debt with come from the back,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just like, yeah, I mean, chill out. I don't know what you're doing here or whatever, but you still owe me some money. So yeah,
We'll pay up because at the beginning of the movie, he had to pay them. You know,
yeah.
that was one of the reasons he was, like we were saying, one of the reasons he was doing this whole thing anyway. So he had to pay them like $4,000 at the beginning of the movie.
Well, this is the thing. He owed them 30, and he gave them what he had, which was the 4 grand. And the 4 grand didn't pay down the debt. It just bought him an extension. He was already a week late.
Wild.
Right. He was already a week late when he gave them the 4 grand.
Did they ever say what he was betting on to owe them $30,000?
No, they didn't.
Because that's insane amount of money, my guy. Like,
Right. So
you can't be making what you think he making maybe $60,000 at that time as a cop, like
at best, and he's a detective at that.
Yeah,
like at best, So so he flips out on them, and so they ended up having a tussle off camera, and then next thing you know, you hear a couple of gunshots. Fast forward to the next scene, he is dead. Everybody, like all the detectives and everything, police chief, all that, they're in his apartment, and he's sitting there in his kitchen dead.
mm-hmm.
So they're thinking that Da Vinci did it. So they're like, we need to find him, blah 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 blah.
Find Da Vinci.
So can't find Da Vinci because he goes MIA because he found out that because of Rodriguez wearing that wire that they know. So he already went MIA because of that. So yeah. After that, then
Yeah, there's like a time jump. It's like
yeah,
4
there
months
was like
later.
4 months later. So 4 months later, Cynthia is still working in the club, and so she ends up going home. And Da Vinci is in her home.
Mm-hmm.
So they end up having dialogue. He ends up getting some money from her. And so with their dialogue, he ends up shooting her. And so he's under the impression he didn't kill her. So he walks out. He's acting like he's like actually affected by shooting her or whatever.
Right. Come on.
Then he goes to Manny's office and he tells Manny, hey, I need a car. I need to get out of here. So Manny gets him a driver or whatnot. And so then we find out on another scene that Cynthia is in the hospital and she's going in and out of consciousness because she's still alive.
Yep.
So they're about to rush her into surgery.
Can't do anything right. Like
Right, like nothing. And so yeah. So she's alive. So we find out she's alive. Good deal. Then Manny gets the car for Da Vinci. And with Manny getting the car for Da Vinci gets in the car and leaves. And he's telling the driver, instructions: go south, get on the interstate, and do the speed limit. So
I'm
the
always
driver,
surprised it took him like 4 months to get this together though. Like what was he doing?
yeah, like I
Where was
didn't
he
understand
hiding?
either. Yeah, because I mean, it was only so many places you can hide unless he was on the street.
Right.
So so the driver pulls over into an alley, turns around, and no. While he's driving, he turns around and he shoots Da Vinci. Then we um, find out who the driver is, and then the driver pulls into an alley and leaves the car there. Well, the driver was the guy from the other trial that was going on while they did this, while
Yeah.
they did this whole
The guy who
situation.
was like, "That's not my gun."
Right. That's not my gun. That's not my fucking gun. So yeah. So the driver was him. So he got his revenge, and that is gang related.
Yes.
So, what are your thoughts? What were your initial thoughts while watching?
For me, it was a little long. It seemed like
It's about
probably
almost 2 hours.
yeah. It seemed like something that should have been more of like a TV show, or maybe it was a TV show idea at some point.
Hmm.
Because because of the pacing was just like, oh, the movie's still happening. Like,
Hmm.
you know, because like James Earl Jones doesn't show up until like you're in almost the last third of the movie. And
Hmm.
you're like, oh, we're still doing this, you know? And
Right.
then you have that trial, and then you have the 4 months later part, which I don't really understand.
Yeah, we didn't really need the 4 months later. I mean, I guess to give the audience, a resolution or a
I mean,
conclusion to Da Vinci.
you could still do that without even saying 4 months later,
Right, right.
because like we're saying, like, well, what was he doing for 4 months?
Exactly, exactly.
So there's
And and then the whole Layla Rashawn thing, like her character, we didn't really need
didn't
that at all.
and like we didn't, we she has like few scenes, and two of those scenes are in the strip club with her dancing.
Right, which I feel like that was just to
Like,
have her
okay.
naked. Yeah.
Right, right. Because she could just be serving drinks or something, or just walking up and talking to people. Did not
But we didn't
actually.
we didn't need we didn't need to know that she was back there at all. Like that didn't have anything to do with anything.
Right. And like if she could still be a stripper, and like we don't have to have a full minute of her dancing on the pole. Like I just
Mhm. Right.
and it wasn't like she was like doing some super acrobatic stuff or something. Like,
Yeah. But the strippers in the movies back in the 90s didn't do acrobatics. So
anything. Yeah. She was just kind of leaning on the pole for like 90 seconds.
yeah, yeah. Like the pole was there for assistance, not as the
Yeah.
main act. So yeah. And then another part we forgot to or I forgot to mention. Dennis Quaid's character, the reason why he had this big fall from grace was because he had an affair on his wife, and the wife found out and she was ballistic, and she took their kids and left the house and ended up getting into a car wreck, killed herself and the kids. And so he had extreme guilt,
Hmm.
survivor's remorse from that, and he had this extreme fall from grace. While
Yeah.
he was in jail, his cellmate, asked him, what the hell happened? Like, you were a doctor? Like, what happened? And so,
How'd you end up here?
right. And so he ended up telling that story. Now, the paper said about how he had the wife and kids and how they died. However, the element how the of how that happened with the affair, that was the first time he ever told somebody was his cellmate. So that led to his guilt and why he was just like, oh, well, that person could have still been alive if I didn't shoot them, and I signed the paper admitting guilt. So I
Right.
just need to plead guilty and take my time.
Yeah, he's feeling
Um,
guilty from what happened with his wife and everything and
right,
children. So he's like, well, I'll just do the time anyway. It doesn't
right,
matter.
right. So, but we did get resolution with him. He ended up working back in the hospital again.
Yeah.
So, and we found that out when Layla Rashawn's character was in the hospital after she got shot. So, yeah, but but
Small
yeah,
world, LA.
but yeah. So, yeah, what were your initial thoughts on the movie?
Well, I was a little long, like I was saying before. It seemed like
Yeah.
maybe it was supposed to be a TV show. I did wish they used Tupac a little more because he had some really great promise in the scenes where they gave him something to do.
Hmm.
It seemed a lot like a Belushi vehicle, which I was like, that seems odd. I don't know. I don't remember Belushi being like a super big movie star at that time um, in '99 to be like, let's give him all of the lines and scenes. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it was definitely his character was
Yeah.
driving force. And it was centered around James Belushi. I think the name Belushi,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? But I think with him, it was more about his brother than him.
Hmm.
Even though he's a good actor as well. I mean, I did used to watch According to Jim, so
No,
uh,
he's a good actor.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
But it just seems like when it comes to the Belushi brothers, it was more about his brother than him.
yeah. And this
Um,
is an example of something I think we were talking about before, like how in the '90s you had a lot more movies that were kind of mid tier, right, as terms of budget goes, right.
hmm.
So that's where you would see films that were a little bit more experimental in nature. Maybe they weren't your typical big blockbuster kind of movies.
Hmm.
But you got to see, more creativity, perhaps, and like new actors uh in these kind of vehicles. So this is a good example of that, I think.
Yes, yes. And and then also back then, Tupac only had like a handful of roles.
Hmm.
So yes, he was like a big star as far as a rapper,
Yeah.
but he wasn't that big of a star as far as an actor is concerned.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see why they chose to have Jim Belushi be the driving force. Because
Yeah.
even when you watch the trailer, um, his it's just Jim
Oh, I didn't
Belushi,
watch the
which is
trailer.
yeah, it's just Jim Belushi's name. And then right after they show the flash of just Jim Belushi's name, then they show a flash of Tupac and they say, and Tupac Shakur in his last acting role.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But again, it just said gang related, but it had James Belushi right above gang related instead of like having several names. Because I mean they had some big
Yeah.
names in this movie, you know what I mean? So um but yeah,
James
it
Earl
just said
Jones is
James
no small
Belushi.
fish. Dennis Quaid, like,
Right,
very, famous at the time. Like, so,
right, right.
yeah. But I just was kind of surprised they didn't involve. I didn't expect Tupac to be leading, but then they didn't involve him more because you clearly put him in for a reason.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then the whole and then I remember back, because I didn't remember too much of it back when I initially watched it, because I kind of was low key confused back when I first watched it
Hmm.
20 some odd years ago. Um, but I remember being one of the things of me being confused about was the name of the movie.
Hmm.
I was just like, why are they calling it gang related? But watching it now, I'm like, okay, it makes sense why they called it gang related, because that's what they were blaming these murders on that they were
Hmm.
doing.
Hmm.
It was just and they were just leaving them unsolved, like, oh, it's gang related, it's
Related,
unsolved.
gang violence.
Right, right. And it makes you wonder, like, is that what they really do?
Oh, I'm quite sure.
Yeah, right, right. Especially like where gangs are heavily um populated, like because they're in LA. So
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen Buffy, the Vampire Slayer,
mhm.
the TV show.
Love that movie. Oh no, 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 the movie. I
Oh
We
my,
had this conversation before because
yeah.
I was like, yeah, I don't. I was too much of a fan of the movie that I was not
I
a
was
TV
too.
show.
Yes, for sure. You got to watch the TV show. But part of the TV show is, the explanation for all these things happening that they give is that it's gangs on PCP.
Okay. Wow. All right.
So gang related just covers a myriad of things apparently,
Mm-hmm.
including the supernatural.
Right. Right. Yep. Just is what it is. Yeah. We're just gonna blame it on gangs. It's just an easy cop out.
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie. It felt too long to me. There are some things we could just do without. We could
Yeah.
tighten up the pacing a little bit. Um, but it was still a good movie.
Yeah, yeah, definitely was that.
They did use one Tupac song.
Now they had a couple of Tupac songs.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember Good Money.
There was a song on the opening, and then because that song, that my life, my life, my life, my life,
Oh,
stuck
yeah.
in one time. Yeah, that was that one. What's the name of that song?
I probably thought of the sample where that song came from.
Probably, yeah, because that song is called Lost Souls. So they play Lost Souls. They play How Do You Want It when they was stripping.
That's it. It was How Do You Want It, not Good
Mm,
Money.
yeah. So yeah, they had a couple of Tupac songs. Um, but yeah, so our rating system. So
Well,
we have.
hold on. Why
Okay.
did you choose this movie?
Well, I chose the movie because the documentary Dear Mama
Hmm.
that was on FX and Hulu, uh, that is covering the life of Tupac and his mama Afeni Shakur, had recently aired, and I was watching it, and it was really good. So it just had me like in a whole Tupac mindset. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was mainly why. I mean, I already had it on my list,
Hmm.
but that was mainly why I was like, okay, we need to do a Tupac movie. Um, anybody that watched the last review of The Mummy when we were talking about it, I initially wanted it to be Juice, which was Tupac's first movie,
Hmm.
but Juice isn't available unless you pay for it. So um, we ended up coming up with Gang Related. So yeah,
Do you remember seeing this movie when it came out and what you thought of it then?
I I did not see it when it came out. I saw it probably like a couple years later on cable,
Hmm.
and like I said, I was confused. I was confused on a lot of stuff. So I got clarity watching it again this time because I was just like, why are they killing people and stuff like that? Like I didn't get the whole scheme.
The Crooked Cop. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that, and then even when with me watching it again, I didn't get it again, and I was watching it with a friend, and he had to explain it to me. So yeah, and then I didn't remember a lot of it. I just remember
Hmm.
Tupac got killed.
Well,
So
I mean, it's been
yeah,
a while.
right, right. So
Yeah.
yeah, like the movie came out in '97. I probably watched it in 2000.
Oh my goodness. 97.
Yeah,
So we were 13,
yeah, right,
going on 14.
right.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. Yeah, so I and then I watched it on cable. So yeah, but like I remember Gridlock had came out like right after he died, and
Hmm.
then Gang Related was the last one. And probably because of the confusion of it all, I probably enjoyed or Gridlock better.
Hmm.
But now rewatching Gang Related, it was a really good movie. So and he acted his ass off. And then it's just so crazy looking at Tupac. It's just so wild that he was 25,
Yeah.
and he was younger than that when he filmed the movie. So
Yeah.
you know, um, yeah. So R.I.P. to him. Um, you know, it's so funny because yesterday, I took my nephew and his friends to the theme park here, which is called Worlds of Fun. And so while I took them there, I was just like, "What do y'all know about Tupac?" Um, we just know, we just know he was a rapper. Like they didn't know anything about him. So I was like, all right, well, we're gonna have a whole little learning lesson on the way to
Hmm.
World of Fun. So
Well, I have a captive audience. We're going to listen to some Tupac.
yeah, yeah. So we listened to Tupac. I gave them a little crash course on him and his mama. They hadn't even heard about the Black Panthers. It was bad.
Oh goodness. Yeah. Well, okay. We got some work to do.
Yeah, yeah. So um, I had to tell them, you know, a brief little history about the Black Panthers. And then I told them about Afeni Shakur. Then I told them about Tupac. I played their songs. It was so funny because, like, when I played "Hit 'Em Up,"
Mm-hmm.
my nephew was like, "He sounds serious." I was like, "Yeah, he was dead ass."
You ever show them the TikTok?
No, no, I didn't show
That
them
is
that.
so
What I
great.
did show them though, which was by my nephew's request because I played the song and then I told them about the video. So he was like, "Can you pull the video up?" Was I ain't mad at you.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to tell them like I had to put them in the mind frame that we was because I was like I was in 8th grade when all this happened. So I had to tell them like you know he died and then this video came out. So it was kind of like he was predicting his death. So he was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, can you pull the video up?" So I was like, "Yeah, I'll pull the video up."
Oh
So
man, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it was sad. But
I
like
remember. I
he
remember
listened to
being in
like
8th grade, like when that happened, and this girl was like, "If he dies, I'm not coming to school."
yeah. Yeah, because
Yeah.
and that's what I told them. I was just like, you know, he died and then Biggie died, and that
Mm-hmm.
was my whole 8th grade year. And I was just like, I was like, and they're 14, so they about to go into their sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, yeah, this was 8th grade for me. Like I had to tell them about the whole East Coast West Coast
Oh
rivalry.
my goodness.
Yeah, like and the ride was maybe 20 minutes, but then like everybody was coming at the same time, so we had to sit in this really long line. So they probably was with me probably like 30, 35 minutes.
Nice.
So yeah, but yeah,
You gotta make them a YouTube playlist of like
yeah, right. Because
some
like
of the events.
he had heard some song. I forgot what song, but then he also said he heard Hail Mary, and I was like, okay. I was like, Hail Mary makes sense, especially considering who my sister is. Because my sister loves '90s rap. So
Oh.
yeah. So I
Did
was
she
like,
know you? Did she know you had to take him to school?
um, no, I took them to Worlds of Fun.
No, no, metaphorically.
Oh, no, I told them after. I
Okay.
told because like my mom and my sister have a group chat. Have a group chat
Mm-hmm.
text, and I told them after, and so I had made a post on Facebook about the whole hit 'em up conversation, and so I had sent that to them in the group chat, and my mom was like, "Why would you play that for them?" and blah blah blah. And I was like, "Wait a minute." I was like, "Hold on, ma'am. I learned about this song when I was a kid
Okay.
on your watch."
When I was younger
So,
than them, right?
right. I was like, so yeah. Why are you trying to come for me?
I'm just following your footsteps.
Okay. Like, yeah. Perfect role model here. So yeah.
That's what cool aunties get to do, though.
Right, right. And then like on the post, my friend tried to say that he was gonna call DFS on me. I said, this ain't my kid, so I'm good.
Call him if you
I'm
want
good.
to. Right.
Right. So yeah. So yeah, I've been in a whole Tupac state of mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that led to um so yeah, the documentary led to me picking
Okay.
Tupac now. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So about our rating scale.
Yes, yes. So our rating scale is 1 movie real trash AF, 2 it exists, 3 entertaining, 4 great, 5 a true classic.
Mhm.
So what say you?
I would give it 3.5. I would say entertaining. Needs some work though, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I would say the same, 3.5. It's definitely entertaining. It does keep you engaged,
Mhm.
but then it does kind of fall off because there's just certain scenes that just were completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
So if they tighten it up.
Yeah, because even if a movie is long, you don't ever want to feel like how much longer do I have left? You know?
Hmm. Right, exactly. So yeah, as long as they tighten it up, could you see them redoing it?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Hmm.
Yeah, very easily done. I think.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So what are we doing next week?
Have you ever seen the movie Go
No,
from 1999?
no.
That's what we'll be doing. It is on Pluto TV, so
Okay.
it is free.
Okay. So let's see. Go.
Hmm.
Who's in Go?
Who's Ingo? Let me see here. I haven't seen it like since then, but I remember really liking it at the time. Oh man, ton of people that you know better now. So yes. So Timothy Oliphant, Katie Holmes, Tay Diggs, Melissa McCarthy, Scott Wolf, Jane Krakowski, like
Uh,
just a
William Fichtner. Hmm.
yeah, a ton of people.
Yeah. Okay.
Luke Wilson was in it. Hmm. A
Okay.
lot of people. It's one of those. You remember, like in the late '90s, you had kind of like you had your some of your teen comedies where they were ensemble casts. So like Can't Hardly Wait, right? Has a
Yeah.
lot of folks in it that
I
you
love
know,
Harley Wait. Yeah.
right? That you know now. So this is kind of one of those kind of deals.
Okay.
But it has a really inventive storytelling method that was new for me at the time. So I'll
Okay.
be interested to see what you think of it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Also had
on.
a really good soundtrack.
Okay. All right. I see it. I see. All right. And it's on Pluto, so that work.
On Pluto for free.
Yep. Yep. Okay. I am excited. So yeah.
Yeah.
And see Tay Diggs and all that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll be watching Go next week. So
Yeah.
Maria, where can we find you?
You can find me online anywhere, any kind of social media. If I'm there, I'm going to be at Valor More Dollars. That's VALARMOR Dollars. I'm also on a podcast called Nerdgasm Noir, and we're making a returns. Five black women talking nerdy, geeky tech things. So you can come join us and have a good time and geek out with us. Oh, where can they find you, Lindsay?
You can find me everywhere on social media at L_Ranelle. That's L_RANELLE. And then also on my other podcast, The Ish We Talk. It is me and my cousin, and we talk about various topics. So, do you have a date for when you guys are coming back?
I don't have right now. It'll be next month.
Okay,
We've recorded a couple episodes and we're getting some other things in the works too. So subscribe and you'll never have to wonder because it'll just show up in your feed.
cool, cool. All right. Well, this is episode 27, gang related for Roomies Review the Movie. So we will see you guys on episode 28.
Yes.
All right.
Bye. Have a
Bye.
good holiday, everybody.
Yes.